which is what is happening. So this system is falling apart. It's not just the last crisis. It is falling apart in front of our eyes. So now let me just focus on solutions. How many of you had a course in economics? Wow, this is an informed group here.
Failed.
Okay, then I have to deprogram you a little less. Okay? Now, how many of you know who creates money? Okay? Alright. Is it government, anybody? No. Actually, 5 years ago when I asked that question in America, 95% of them believed that it was government. Very funny. It's progress. We're learning here. Fantastic. The next question is it the Fed? The central bank? Anybody? Yes? A little bit? Huh?
I think so.
You think so? Yes. Anybody else think so?
Yes.
Alright? Okay. Is anybody believing that someone else does it normally? Okay, one or two. Well, would you believe the last ones win? The Fed steps in when the banking system doesn't do its job, which has been lately the case. Normally, it's the banking system that creates the money. The banks are not the place where you deposit your money. It's where your money is created. And it's created, and they say it in Latin to make sure nobody understands, it's fiat money. This comes from Genesis, first chapter of the Bible. The words of God, the God-like power of creating something out of nothing. Fiat lux, let light be. And the next sentence is, and light was. And he saw it was good. Our money is created through the power of the word of the banking system. Now, let's go to the next question. How is money created? Is it created with printing presses? That's what they always talk about on the radio and on television, and they always show those pictures with dollar bills rolling out of the press. Is that what it's created? Anyone believe that? Okay, nobody believes that. All right.
Physically.
What?
Physically, literally.
Physically, all right. Well, what part of the money is actually physical?
Good question, I don't know.
About 3% or 4%. So the 96% it never takes the form of bills. Okay? Actually, the only part. Let's go. So the money is created when someone makes a debt with the banking system. That's how it works. Every dollar you've seen, every euro you've seen, every yen you've heard of, every Mexican peso is someone's debt. It can be governmental debt. It can be government at different levels. Huh? It can be business debt, corporations, and it can be individual debt when you go to buy a house or an apartment and you take a mortgage out. Now, what's interesting, of course, what is created out of nothing, ex nihilo in Latin, again in order to make sure that nobody understands, all right? That is doing it without creating the interest. Get the point? When you go walk through their 100,000 mortgage loan, which has credited to your account and you buy your thing, they send you out to the world and say, now bring back 200,000, right? The other 100,000 is interest. That interest is not created. The interest, when you pay interest on a loan, when anybody pays interest on a loan, they're using the principal of someone else. That's why we need growth all the time. It cannot be stopped. Otherwise, everything stops. The whole thing collapses. Everything goes bankrupt. You can't pay back your interest. The money is not created. You start seeing the trap that this can represent. Now, how is it that everybody in America uses dollars? I mean, is there somewhere a law and a policeman that with a machine gun that says, you know, if you guys change something between each other, you're not using dollars, I get you. Is that what they do?
IRS.
Okay, yes, that's different from the exchanges. Nobody prohibits businesses or people to exchange and using anything else actually that you want. However, you need to pay, as you pointed out, taxes on it, and those taxes are payable only in
Dollars.
There we go. Now, the fascinating thing about this is that government imposes on everybody to pay taxes only in a currency that government cannot create. Alright? The systemic purposes for taxes is not to fund the federal government. Any sovereign state does not need the income. It's the opposite. The taxes give value to the currency. If the government was not requiring taxes to be paid in bank debt money currency, and I'm specifying what we're dealing with, nobody would bother using bank debt money. The dollar would disappear. So we actually have the government giving the power to the private sector for the monopoly being enforced, inhibiting the government itself to be able to do what it wants to do. There's a bit of a contradiction going on here. Now, some people, and in the movement that you represent, you're part of, I've seen some of them in LA and other groups, have been looking at changing the money system, and the solution they're thinking about is let's nationalize the creation profit money. Governments will issue the money themselves, and then the banks just become brokers, which is what most people believe actually. Most people are not aware that's where the money is created. They believe that they get the money when they borrow it from someone else's deposit, which is not the way it works. So I'm not going into the details here, but fine. In fact, why would government not be capable? Well, if they do that, all you're doing is actually changing the driver. Remember the story with the car? I'm not saying that it shouldn't be done. Okay? I'm not saying, and emphasize, that we shouldn't change the way the current system is run. That's not what I'm saying. However, I'm saying it's not enough. We need diversity. If you have the government issue currencies themselves, you would get rid of some of the problems. First of all, you wouldn't have sovereign debt crisis, right? And you would not have bank crashes either, because a bank that is a broker doesn't create money, so there's no leveraging to, it's not their money, it's really generally deposits that are being lent out again. Now, I claim, however, you're not saved from monetary crashes. There have been 167 of those in the last 40 years. So we get rid of 2/3 of the problem, but still have a third left. So my proposal is different. Let's call it democratic money. Money that is issued under influence of the people themselves, and that